Hello ladies and gents, and welcome to the finals week of this class. Hooray, you've made it. You're almost done. This week is intentionally a light week for you. We got our big project done on Friday, so that hopefully you can focus on your other classes if you've got finals. Really, the only thing you have to do this week is write a reflective letter. And that reflective letter is not too terribly, awfully hard. We'll talk about it in just a second. And if you have to take the exit essay, I'll have another video for you about that as well. But you only have to take the exit essay if you scored below 60% on the diagnostic essay. So go into the gradebook, look at your diagnostic essay score. If you scored lower than 30 points out of 50, so if you do the math, 30 out of 50 is 60%. So if you scored less than 30 points, you have to take the exit essay exam. If you scored 30 points or higher, you do not have to take the exit essay. Make sense? Yay! All right, so let's talk about the reflective letter. The reflective letter is a chance for you to look at how this course taught you things. Was it beneficial? Did you get anything out of it? To look back on our experience, because there's lots of really excellent research that talks about taking a moment to reflect and think about what we've learned helps cement those lessons and helps us be more thoughtful in using the skills that we've learned elsewhere. So lots of good things come with being a reflective writer. So for this essay, you are going to select a simile or a metaphor that you feel best encapsulates this class. So as an example, and I've got a template for us here. So if we go ahead and download that template, it looks like this. You are going to be writing a formal style letter instead of a formal essay. So it starts with your name, address, city, state. If you don't want to give me that information, fine, just make something up. That's totally fine. It just tells me that you can follow format by putting it here. The date, and of course we write the date in the crazy MLA format, right? So today would be 22nd March 2021. My information here. You start the address with Dear Professor Wortley. Dear is just a professional opening. It doesn't mean that I am dear to you, although if I am, yay! But there's really not like an emotional connotation to it in a professional letter setting. Then we start with a paragraph where we kind of contextualize our learning and our reflection. So this will introduce your impressions of the quarter and will give us your metaphor or simile as a thesis statement. So you could say something like, English 101 was totally taught online. This was something I liked about the class or I didn't like about the class. The reflective letter is meant to be a place where you can be honest. And honestly, it helps me become a better teacher if you're honest in this letter, because I can see things that maybe I could do differently or different aspects I could focus on for the next class. So feel free to give some honest impressions. The next paragraph is going to talk about your metaphor or simile and how it connects to your work in Project 1. And we want to mention the WPA outcomes and habits of mind. Now I hear you saying, what is that? We don't know that yet. No worries, I got you covered. So if you go down the reflective letter folder, I have a WPA and habits of mind instructional video I'm going to ask you to watch. This talks you through what the WPA and habits of mind are. Basically what they are is what college teachers across the nation agree that English 101 students should know by the time they get out of English 101. So it's a list of skills that they hope everyone coming out of English 101 has. So watch the instructional video, look through the PowerPoint. These will help orient you to how you're going to incorporate those habits of mind. So if we go back to our sample here, you'll talk about Project 1, which was our Murder on the Orient Express essay. You're going to tie it into your simile, and then you want to mention your habits of mind. So if we did an outline like this, we've got our intro paragraph, and our thesis statement is this quarter in English 101 was like a roller coaster. Then I'd go ahead, and in my first paragraph, I would talk about Project 1, which was the Murder on the Orient Express. So I'd say Project 1 was like when you ride a roller coaster and it starts that slow climb up the steep hill, you know, where it's like chink, 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 and you're like, it's going to be good, right? So that is what I'm tying this metaphor into. And then I'll give some examples of why that's the case. This essay challenged me with the amount of reading we had to do. It felt like a slow build just like this is a slow build to the roller coaster, because we had to spend several weeks reading at first. And then I would maybe note one of the WPA outcomes, one of the habits of mind outcomes. I had to use WPA outcomes. You'll read through the list, but you had to use some rhetorical skills to create an argument and analyze the text, Murder on the Orient Express. Habits of mind, you had to use curiosity to figure out who is the murderer and how it all went down. So you go ahead and talk about all these things in this first project. And you jump into project 2. Project 2 was like the first big drop in the roller coaster ride, that big whoosh when you go down and your tummy's up in your mouth and you're like, ah! Or at least for me, clearly, roller coasters are one of my favorite things. So then I would tie it in. I'd say the timeline of this essay was really fast, and that made it extra challenging. The topic was difficult because there was a larger research component to it. That kind of thing. And then we go ahead and talk about the WPA outcomes. You could talk about the ability to research here. For habits of mind, you could talk about persistence or perseverance. Excuse me. How you had to persevere through the challenges of this project. And then you move on to project 3. Project 3 is like the big loop-de-loop with the twists and the turns when the roller coaster's going really fast and your adrenaline's pumping and it's really cool. I could say the topics for this essay were kind of heavy. Like there was a lot of emotional context to them and felt overwhelming at times, especially with new terrible cases coming up. A case that's going to be added to the list shortly is the massacre of the Asian women by the horrible racist piece of garbage person who did that last week. So the topics for this essay were heavy and overwhelming at times, just like your senses get overwhelmed on a roller coaster. And we talk about that a little more. We'd use one of the WPA outcomes. We'd use one of the habits of mind. We'd wrap that up, right? So this kind of outline might be helpful to you as you're thinking about composing your letter. So follow this style, but you can use that outline to help you with the content. After we've done all that, project 1, 2, and 3, we're going to discuss the idea of transfer. And that's something we talk about a lot in that PowerPoint video. But the concept of transfer is how will you take the skills you learned here and transfer them somewhere else? How will they help you in other contexts, whether that's in other classes you have to take? If your history class makes you write an essay, hey, you've got some skills, maybe that'll help you out. If you have to write a cover letter for a job application, hey, maybe we've got some skills about clear and concise writing that will help us out. Maybe we read a newspaper headline and we're like, that seems wonky. Now we have some research skills that maybe will help us out. So hopefully there are some skills in this class that will transfer for you, not even necessarily essay writing, but maybe critical thinking skills or the ability to look at bias or a chance to find research in different places than just Google. So hopefully there's at least one skill that you found helpful in this class. And so talk about that, discuss the idea of transfer. What could you take from this class to another context, whether that's other classes at CBC or somewhere else? What skills could you use in real life scenarios? Give at least one specific example. When I was in Running Start at CBC, I took a history class here with a history professor who was actually still teaching at CBC, so I'm not going to say his name. But in that class, I had to write an essay every week. There was an essay due every Friday. And let me tell you, by the end of that quarter, I got very good at writing very fast essays because I'd taken English 101 and I had the groundwork I needed to be successful. But a lot of students in that class were not getting good scores because they didn't have the skills they needed yet. So give at least one specific example of how you would use a skill elsewhere. And then close your letter with an overall impression of the class. Please do feel free to be honest. I hope you enjoyed this class. I loved teaching it, and it was great to get to know all of you guys through your writing. But also I know that every class can be better. And so I would love to have your impressions. Things that you liked that we did, awesome. I'll keep them. Maybe try and do more stuff like that. Or things that you felt didn't work super well. Awesome. Maybe I'll try and change it for the next class so that they can have an even better experience. You're helping future generations. How marvelous is that? So please give me some honest overall impressions. I really do value this feedback so much. So please invest in that. And then you close the letter sincerely, put your signature there. You can just use a cursive font. Like, you don't have to print it out and write it and then make it a PDF. Don't do that. Just use a cursive font, make it fancy, and then type your name below. This is a formal business letter style. I know I'm tossing it in at the end, but if you ever have to write a cover letter or anything like that in another class, this is how you'd want to do it. So I wanted to give you this one last skill before you head out. So that is our reflective letter form. That's what you're going to be doing. Everything you need for that is here in the reflective letter folder, especially that WPA and Habits of Mind video. So please check that out. Turn in the letter and you'll be done. Hooray! So exciting. All right. As always, if you have any questions, guys, please let me know. It has been a true pleasure and privilege to get to work with you guys this quarter. I wish you all the best. And if you ever need a letter of recommendation or anything, you know where to find me. Send me an email. Thank you guys so much for all of your hard work.